Welcome to ComfortTV.channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. I am Faith Kevin. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, petrol stations in Port Harcourt opens as NUPENG suspends strike. Lagos government to remove illegal structures on the high tension in Makoko community. Over church attack, court refuses bail for alleged Al-Shabaab terrorists. EFCC loads main power disco for improved power supply in Enugu. In FCT, police raid criminal hideouts, arrest 71 suspects. Petroleum workers commend Dangote respecting workers' rights and warn NUPENG against derailing economic progress. On the business world, Naira gains, trades 1,506 Naira per dollar at official market. On the foreign scene, Trump calls for Charlotte train stabbing suspect to face death penalty. On sports, 11 players could miss Brentford vs Chelsea as Enzo Maresca suffers fresh injury blow. Now the news. The Lagos state government has announced plans to remove illegal structures built on the high-tension cables in the Makoko community, Yaba, Lagos. The move comes after the state, through the Office of the Urban Regional Planning, removed dilapidated buildings and shanties at the Oworonshoki end of the Third Mainland Bridge in Kosofe local government area. The Permanent Secretary, Office of Urban Development, Bolahan Oki, revealed that the Lagos state government has held several stakeholder meetings with residents of Makoko, expressing concerns over the continuous building of shanties on the high-tension cables, thereby posing dangers to residents. Oki explained that the state government is worried about the illegal extension of the shanties under the Third Mainland Bridge by the residents. He said the government will continue the enforcement activity at the Makoko community by removing illegal structures in order to prevent looming dangers. He added that Babajide Sanwo-Olu's administration is concerned about the safety of the people in the state and will do all it takes to protect the people. On the recent demolitions in the Oworonshoki area, which led to the blockage of the Third Mainland Bridge by the residents, Oki said the state government had, for the past 3 years, held stakeholders meetings with the residents on the need for them to regularize their building approval. He explained that only 2 out of the residents complied with the government's directive, despite the government's amnesty period for the regularization. Oki said the affected buildings were structurally defective and posed dangers to the people. According to him, investigations revealed that many of the traffic robberies committed on the Third Mainland Bridge are carried out by residents of the area who run back to the shanties after carrying out their robbery. Oki insists that the Lagos state government will continue to enforce building planning approval to ensure all buildings are safe and fit for habitation. The Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday refused the bail request made by 5 alleged Al-Shabaab terrorists who allegedly attacked a Catholic church in Owo Town, Ondo State, leading to the death of over 40 worshippers. Justice Emeka Nwite, who dismissed the bail application, held that the terrorism charges against them were capital in nature. The judge also held that they were accused of being members of a formidable terrorist organization who may intimidate witnesses and influence and jeopardize the trial of the defendants before the court. Delivering a ruling on the bail application, Justice Emeka Nwite upheld the arguments of the Department of the State Services (DSS) that the evidence against the alleged terrorists was strong and could not be overlooked. Additionally, the judge stated that the DSS's argument that they would jump bail and flee if allowed to go home was not disputed and was deemed to be true. Justice Nwite also upheld the submission of the security agencies that the 5 accused persons had not established credible sureties that could stand for them pending their trial. He stated that the DSS's argument, which claimed that admitting them to bail would amount to judicial risk, were also not challenged by their lawyers. In all, Justice Emeka Nwite held that the defendants failed to provide cogent and verifiable reasons for being allowed home pending trial and subsequently dismissed their bail request. Earlier, before addressing the merits of the bail application, the judge had declared the motion on notice incompetent because the names of the 5 defendants were not listed on the motion paper as required by law. Similarly, the judge faulted the motion paper on another ground. A joint affidavit of 2 paragraphs was submitted in support of the bail request for the 5 defendants, contrary to the position of the law that each accused person must have a separate affidavit to support the request for bail. It will be recalled that the bail application dated August 11, 2025 was argued by their counsel Abdullahi Awal Ibrahim and Momo Otuho Abubakar. While arguing the application, the lawyer had submitted that the accused persons had assembled reliable and responsible sureties to stand for them. The request was, however, vehemently opposed by the DSS lawyer, Dr. Callistus Eze, because the accused persons might escape due to the gravity of the charges against them. Some petrol stations in Port Harcourt City have returned to business following the suspension of the strike declared by the Nigerian Union of Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG. According to news reports, a survey conducted around the Port Harcourt metropolis on Wednesday showed that many petrol stations were open for business. Recall that NUPENG directed its members to embark on a strike over alleged anti-labor practices by Dangote Refinery. Some petrol stations who spoke to our news reporters said that the reopening of their business outlets followed a directive from their union. At a major petrol station along Eleme Road, a manager who preferred anonymity said that the alleged issue of staff victimization due to union membership should be given proper attention. It will be recalled that Mr. Billy Harry, the national president of the Petrol Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, issued a statement urging members to suspend the strike. Harry stated that the decision to call off the strike resulted from intense negotiations between NUPENG and Dangote Refinery. The acting zonal director of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Aisha Abubakar Esquire, has commended Main Power Electricity Distribution Limited, MEDL, for improved service quality in Enugu State. Main Power, which is a subsidiary of the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company EEDC, is responsible for electricity distribution within Enugu State. Abubakar, who is in charge of EFCC Enugu Zonal Command, gave the commendation when the Managing Director, Main Power, Dr. Ernest Mupwaya, led his team on a courtesy visit to the EFCC in Enugu. Earlier, Mupwaya said that the visit was part of Main Power's effort to strengthen collaboration and build strategic partnership with critical stakeholders within its franchise area. The Managing Director said that some of the challenges confronting the company included habitual non-payment of electricity bills, energy theft, meter bypass, illegal connections to the network, and vandalism. He solicited the Commission's support in addressing these issues, which he described as economic sabotage. Mupwaya was accompanied on the visit by the Chief Commercial Officer, Mr. Ikenna Akabogo, Chief Technical Officer, Mr. Chimizi Chukwu, and Head of Corporate Communications, Mr. Emeka Eze. The Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Command has launched a coordinated raid on suspected criminal hideouts and black spots across the territory, arresting no fewer than 71 suspects. The operation, carried out on September 8, simultaneously covered Gwagwalada, Kubwa, Nyanya, Apo, Kamo, Meitawa, Mabushi, Dawake, Galadima, Asokoro, Karu, Jikoi, Mpape, Lokogoma, and Utako divisions. The police revealed that substances suspected to be Indian hemp and other illicit drugs were recovered during the exercise, adding that the suspects were undergoing screening and interrogation, with those found culpable to face prosecution. The mass arrest comes after recent reports of criminal activities in parts of the FCT and reflects ongoing efforts by security agencies to address emerging security challenges in the nation's capital. On September 9, operatives from the Biazin Division rescued a 40-year-old woman, Miss Mary Moore, who was reported missing in Kefi, Nasarawa State, and later found in the Biazin area. She has been handed over to the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, for medical care. In another development, the detectives in Gwagwalada are investigating the discovery of the decomposing body of an unidentified man in the Ibwa 1 area on September 9. Following consultations, community leaders and police agreed to bury the remains in line with local customs. Also in Gwagwalada, on the same day, police received a report of the sudden death of a 24-year-old woman identified as Ebubichukwu Sunday Kelechi at her fiancé's residence. Preliminary findings suggested she had been undergoing treatment for malaria, with medications recovered at the scene. No visible injuries were found on her body, but investigations are ongoing. The Petroleum Workers Advancement Initiative, PEWI, a coalition advocating for the welfare of oil and gas workers and the stability of Nigeria's economy, has commended Alhaji Aliko Dangote and the management of Dangote Refinery for respecting workers' rights and safeguarding national economic growth following the suspension of a planned strike by the Nigerian Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG. In a statement on Wednesday signed by its president, Comrade Ebikeme Okuriti, PY, hailed the Memorandum of Understanding signed on September 8 between Dangote Refinery, NUPENG, and other stakeholders as a decisive step in strengthening industrial harmony and advancing economic development. The MOU, also signed by Sayudan Tata, Managing Director of the Dangote Group, Obugo Ukoha, Executive Director of Distribution Systems, Storage and Retailing Infrastructure at the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Benson Uba, Acting General Secretary of the National Labour Congress, NLC, and Nuhu Toro, General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, TUC, effectively shelved the strike that was scheduled to commence September 8, 2025. The agreement allows workers at both Dangote Refinery and its petrochemical operations to unionize freely and guarantees that no employee will be victimized for exercising this right. The process of unionization is expected to commence immediately and conclude within 2 weeks, from September 9 to 22, 2025. PEWI described the resolution as a laudable demonstration of responsible leadership by Dangote, noting that the refinery's willingness to uphold workers' constitutional rights signals a commitment to both employee welfare and the broader economic stability of the country. Dangote's management has shown that it is possible to respect workers' rights while simultaneously promoting economic growth. This comes from Comrade Okuriti. ComfortTV.channel news returns shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is ComfortTV.channel news. On business, the Nigerian naira has appreciated against the US dollar at the official foreign exchange market, closing at 1,506 naira 8 kobo per dollar. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed a gain of 0.76 naira for the local currency, which was traded at 1,506 naira 84 kobo per dollar on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the naira's performance against other major international currencies remained flat. It held steady at 1,525 naira to the dollar in the parallel market and closed at 2,090 naira against the British pound, 1,790 naira against the euro, and 1,230 naira against the Canadian dollar. Registrar of CITM Dr. Olumide Adedoyin issued a warning in a statement on Wednesday in Abuja against the backdrop of rising debt levels and reports of fresh borrowing plans. Adedoyin advised that if new borrowing became absolutely necessary, it should be directed strictly at critical revenue-generating infrastructure projects and sourced only on concessional terms, low interest and long tenors from multilateral institutions. He said, as at mid-2024, Nigeria's debt picture is characterized by rapid growth and a changing composition. While commending the administration for recording a 2025 revenue surplus, Adedoyin said this presented a rare opportunity to reduce fiscal dependence on debt. The Nigerian government is correct to celebrate improved revenue, according to Right Honorable Speaker Abbas Tajuddin. He says it is the primary tool to escape the debt trap. He says it's necessary counterbalance, highlighting that the current debt level is unsustainable and threatens the nation's economic future. Adedoyin emphasized that the path forward lay not in piling up new loans but in enforcing radical fiscal discipline and pursuing aggressive revenue generation. On debt sustainability, he urged the government to proactively renegotiate with bilateral and commercial creditors to restructure existing obligations, extending tenors and lowering interest rates to ease annual repayment pressures. Adedoyin concluded that Nigeria's long-term fiscal stability would depend on discipline, innovation, and political will to expand revenue without suffocating growth. On the foreign scene, Israel carried out a strike on senior Hamas leaders in Qatar's capital Doha. Qatar quickly accused Israel of reckless behavior and breaking international law after the attack on a residential premises in the city. The Israel Defense Force claimed to have targeted those directly responsible for the brutal October 7 massacre. Explosions were heard and smoke was seen rising above the Qatari capital Doha early afternoon. Verified footage showed smoke rising from a heavily damaged section of the complex next to Wuqad Petrol station on Wadi Rodan Street near the West Bay Lagoon district north of central Doha. According to the Israel military, it conducted a precise strike targeted at Hamas senior leaders in Qatar using precise munitions. Israeli media said the operation involved 15 Israeli fighter jets firing 10 munitions against a single target. Qatar has hosted Hamas's political bureau since 2012 and has played a key role in facilitating indirect negotiations between the group and Israel since the 7 October attacks. Hamas said members of the group's negotiating delegation in Doha were targeted but survived the strike. However, Hamas said 6 others, including a Qatari security official, were killed. Still on the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump called Wednesday for the man suspected of fatally stabbing a Ukrainian refugee on a Charlotte, North Carolina light rail train to face the death penalty. Trump wrote on his social media platform that the animal who violently killed a beautiful young lady from Ukraine who came to America searching for peace and safety should be given a quick trial and only awarded the death penalty. Surveillance video footage of the August 22 fatal stabbing of Irina Zarutska was released Monday as the case garnered national attention. It appears to depict Zarutska getting on a train before taking a seat in front of another passenger. After some time elapses, the other individual opens a knife, stands up and stabs Zarutska. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department identified the suspect as DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34. He is facing state charges of first-degree murder. Russ Ferguson, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, announced federal charges against Brown on Tuesday, including committing an act of violence on a mass transportation system. Attorney General Pam Bondi said federal prosecutors will seek the maximum sentence for Brown. According to him, it is a law that is there because it affects the American way and affects daily life. He says the charge carries a penalty of either life in prison or death penalty. On sports, Nuno Espirito Santo was relieved of his duties as Nottingham Forest manager this week, but Stan Collymore doesn't believe he'll be out of work for long. Despite taking Nottingham Forest from a team fighting for relegation to one about to play European football this season, Nuno was let go by the club following off-field issues. According to Collymore, Nottingham Forest achieved a lot on the pitch and Nuno drastically improved several players, which is why he took to X to praise and predict what might be next for him as a coach. Meanwhile, Forest looks set to face issues with UEFA's financial rules, both with the football earnings rule and the squad cost ratio rule. It is believed that Forest is bracing for breaches on both fronts, but Postecoglou may not be seriously impacted, with Forest potentially able to agree a settlement and move on. They are limited to losing about £75 million for the 3-season period. Hiring the manager who won the Europa League last season is a positive move, although Forest finished 10 places and 27 points above Postecoglou's Spurs side, so they will expect a better league performance than the Australian managed in North London. Chelsea returned to Premier League action on Saturday night as they make the short trip to Getch Community Stadium to take on Brentford. The Blues will have the chance to move top of the league table if they can record 3 points against the Bees away from home for the first time since 2021. Liverpool travel to Burnley on Sunday afternoon, so boasting top spot could be only temporary. But Chelsea will hope to apply pressure to last season's champions. However, Enzo Maresca could be without a whole host of players for the Blues' second successive West London derby. Dario Esugo is unavailable, with a 20-year-old midfielder suffering a thigh injury while on international duty with Portugal's under-21s. Levi Colwill remains sidelined after injuring his anterior cruciate ligament in pre-season. Meanwhile, photos have emerged of Cole Palmer, who was missed last week 2 matches because of a groin injury. Similar can be said for Benoit Badiashile and Romeo Lavia, both long-term absentees. The pair were spotted back on the grass at the club's training base earlier in the week. Arsenal and Crystal Palace have reportedly reached an agreement on a compensation package for young star Dan Casey. Casey was reportedly offered a new deal by Arsenal earlier this year, but the 18-year-old snubbed their advances. Now the Standard states the teenager will head to London rivals Palace, with the attacking midfielder technically out of contract at present. The youngster, who can also play as a winger and a striker, previously admitted that Martin Odegaard is one of his idols. Casey has been in Arsenal's academy since 2015, but it seems his decade-long stay with the Gunners is set to draw to a close. Now a switch to Palace's under-21 beckons as he begins a new chapter of his footballing career. And that's our news bulletin for today. But before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. Petrol stations in Port Harcourt reopens as NUPENG suspends strike. Lagos government to remove illegal structures under high tension in Makoko community. Over church attack, court refuses bail for alleged Al-Shabaab terrorist. On business, the Naira gains trades 1,506 Naira, 8 kobo per dollar at the official market. And on the foreign scene, Trump calls for Charlotte train stabbing suspect to face death penalty. On sports, 11 players could miss Brentford vs Chelsea as Enzo Maresca suffers fresh injury blows. And that's our news bulletin. Thanks for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at ComfortTV.channel on all platforms. Remember to like and share our videos, subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. I am Faith Kevin. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed.